I am a young boy, around 12 years old, with a lot of energy and dreams. I live in a small town with my parents and my little sister. Most of the time, my mom's my best friend, the one who always listens to me when I'm upset or when something exciting happens at school. But today is different. I am angry at Mom. It all started this morning. I had been looking forward to spending the entire afternoon playing video games. I had been saving up my allowance for a new game, and today was finally the day it was supposed to arrive. But when I got up, all I could hear was my mom's voice calling me from downstairs. "Come on, hurry up. We need to get ready for the family gathering," she shouted. I froze. A family gathering? On the day I was supposed to play my new game? This wasn't fair. I could already feel the frustration building up inside me. The whole morning had been a blur of getting dressed and pretending to be excited about things I wasn't excited about. Mom didn't understand. She never understood. I wanted to shout at her, to tell her that I didn't care about the gathering, that my game was much more important, but I knew I couldn't. So, instead, I just kept my mouth shut and followed her out the door, still angry and disappointed. And now, here I was sitting in the car, staring out the window, fuming. Why did she always have to ruin my plans? To make things worse, when we arrived at the gathering, my mom was busy chatting with everyone, laughing and acting like everything was normal. And I was just sitting there, feeling left out and miserable. Everyone seemed to ignore me, and no one noticed how angry I was. I just wanted to go home, to play my game. I was so angry at my mom for making me feel this way. Why couldn't she see that sometimes I just needed my space, to be alone, to do my own thing? Why did she always have to control everything? But as the afternoon wore on, and I kept my anger to myself, something strange happened. My little sister came up to me, her tiny hands tugging at my sleeve. She asked me if I wanted to go play outside with her. For a moment I hesitated, but then, something inside me softened. Maybe I wasn't so angry anymore. Maybe it wasn't worth holding on to the grudge. I sighed and stood up, ready to follow her outside. But just as we were about to leave, my mom looked over at me from across the room and gave me a small smile. It wasn't a big, happy smile, but it was enough to make me pause for a second. I still didn't understand why she had to ruin my plans, but maybe it wasn't all that bad after all. Maybe she was just trying to get me to connect with the family, to spend time with the people who cared about me. I looked back at my sister, who was waiting patiently, and then at my mom, who was still watching me. I knew I wasn't ready to let go of my anger just yet, but a small part of me felt like maybe it was time to start letting it go. I followed my little sister outside, the cool air hitting my face, and tried to shake off the anger. I didn't want to admit it, but deep down, I was starting to realize that the family gathering wasn't as bad as I'd made it out to be. It wasn't just about the game, or the plans that didn't go the way I wanted. It was more about how I had let my frustration take over. We ran around the backyard, and my sister and I played tag with some of the other kids. It was fun, in a way I hadn't expected. My sister's laughter, the sun shining down on us, the sound of everyone chatting in the background. It was peaceful. But then something happened. I noticed my mom standing by the window, watching us. She wasn't talking to anyone else. She wasn't laughing or smiling like she usually did at these things. She was just standing there, looking at me. It was as if she knew I was upset. The thought made my chest tighten. Maybe she understood more than I gave her credit for. After a while, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I walked over to where she was standing by the window. She looked down at me with that gentle smile I knew so well, the one that always made me feel like everything would be okay, even when I didn't want it to be. "Had enough of the game yet?" she asked, her voice soft. I bit my lip, unsure of what to say. I didn't want to tell her I was still angry, but I also didn't want to pretend everything was fine. I hesitated before speaking up. "I guess I'm kind of tired of being angry. It's just sometimes I don't know why you make things so hard." She nodded, her eyes understanding, as if she had been waiting for me to say that. "I know it seems that way. But sometimes I need you to see the bigger picture. It's not always about one thing or another. Sometimes we have to go through things we don't want to appreciate the moments we have together." I felt a bit of warmth in her words, but I wasn't sure if I fully understood. I still didn't like that she ruined my plans, but I did understand that maybe it wasn't all her fault. Maybe I had been too focused on one thing and had missed out on everything else. For a moment, neither of us said anything. And then my mom spoke again, her voice gentle but firm. Do you want to go back and play? I'm sure you can still make the most of the day. I smiled just a little. I was still upset, but it didn't seem as important anymore. Maybe I could let go of the anger, just for now. Maybe the game wasn't everything. I nodded. Yeah, I think I will. She gave me one last smile, and as I turned to walk back outside, I realized something important. Sometimes, we just have to let things go, because there's more to life than being angry. Even if I didn't always get what I wanted, maybe I could still find happiness in the little moments. And with that, I ran back to join my sister, the frustration slowly melting away. As we all got out of the car and headed inside, the evening settled into a quiet routine. My sister was already talking about all the fun she'd had, and my mom was going about the usual evening chores, getting dinner ready, sorting things around the house. I wandered to my room, still thinking about the day and how it had turned out differently than I had expected. I sat down at my desk, looking at the new game box on my shelf. It was still there, waiting for me, untouched. The disappointment I had felt earlier about not being able to play it faded away, replaced by a sense of peace. Maybe I hadn't gotten my way today, but maybe it didn't matter as much anymore. My mom was right. I had been so focused on one thing that I missed the joy of spending time with my family. A few minutes later, I heard my mom call from downstairs. Hey, can you come help set the tables? I hesitated for a moment, but then I got up and made my way down. As I walked into the kitchen, my mom was putting the last few dishes on the table, smiling as she saw me enter. I thought maybe you'd want to help out, she said with a wink. I nodded and began helping her. There was no tension between us now, just a quiet understanding. We worked together, setting everything up for dinner, and as we sat down to eat, I realized how much I appreciated these small moments. After dinner, I found myself back in my room, the game still on the shelf. It wasn't a priority anymore, at least not right then. I had learned something today, something more important than any game or plan I could have had. The connection with my family was something I would never take for granted. And as I sat there thinking back on the day, I smiled. Life was full of surprises, some good and some frustrating. But in the end, it was the people around us that made the days worth living. And right now, I was okay with that. The next day, when I woke up, I felt different. Happier, lighter. I wasn't angry anymore. Life was too short to stay mad, especially when there was so much to enjoy and appreciate. And with that, I closed my eyes, ready for whatever came next. The end.